Hi guys, thanks for joining me. In this quick little video, we're going to be making this adorable little water lily. And what I like to do is try and bring out a tutorial which uses a template set or part of a template set that's already out there. So some of you will already have this template, and it's the Caylx template from the single rose set. And this is going to make this little flower. What you're also going to need is something to create a circle. Now, if some of you have got the sunflower set, there will be a circle template in there. Or alternatively, you can use something like this. And this is just a generic, what is it? It's sellotape. I need more coffee, I'm sorry. The diameter is about 70 mil, 7 centimeters, and that will produce something about this size. So what we're going to do is quickly run through a few sort of tools and materials, and then we're going to jump straight into the project. As always, I've got my trusty pocket scale, and as I always say, this is absolutely brilliant for just weighing out tiny little bits. This is 0.13 of a gram, so you can create petals and things very consistently with the same amount of wool by weighing it out. You're also obviously going to need your felting surface, and some of you may notice that my setup is a little bit different today. What I'm felting on today is a felted felting mat, which is on top of a piece of foam, and I've been starting to use this recently for making lots of leaves and things, and then it's just covered with a piece of commercial felt in the colour that I'm going to be felting in, and I just swap off this top layer. I have found that this creates some really good results for the templates, and they don't get stuck too much to the surface like they do with the foam. So it's worth bearing in mind there are lots of different surfaces out there, so you know, different ones are good for different things. I'm going to be using the moss green coloured wool for my lily pad, and I'm going to be using our white for the lily flower. You're going to need your felting needles, and again, I've changed things up today. I am using a 38 regular, and I've got a multi-tool which has 3 needles. This thing is absolutely amazing. And I have a punch tool here, and using this felting surface, you can use the punch tool quite easily. The foam, it's not recommended that you use a punch tool because the foam doesn't react well to the impact cluster of the 5 needles, but with this setup it makes it a lot easier. Okay, that's just about everything. I think you're going to need about 3 grams of the green, and probably no more than, I don't know, 1.5 grams of the white. What I've done is grabbed 0.5 grams of the white and divided it up equally into 5 0.1 grams each, and this will be for each petal, like so. And with the templates, don't be tempted to start in the middle and try to work to the outside. We always start at the outside and work towards the middle, and if need be we can add in, you know, another pinch or two of the white. The weights and measures are they're a good guide, but they're not set in stone. Okay, so to do the 5-pointed, and you're going to make 2 of these, grab one of your 0.1 grams and just fold it back on itself at the end like that, and that rolled edge goes right up into the tip. And all I'm doing is using my needle. I'm not piercing the surface at all. I'm just running my needle up to the tip and then going up and down at the tip. And I'm not piercing this surface, I'm bouncing right off the top. So I'm just getting it in like that. Same again for all the other points. And that rolled edge does mean that you get quite a nice tip. You want to make sure that it all overlaps in the middle. So that's how we're going to join all of these together. But this is just a first pass, getting everything in the template. And this is a really, really nice wall to work with. I'm going to end up with a nice crisp shape at the end of this. Okay, so once you've got it all in, then just start by going over it lightly. And we're going to pay particular attention to these edges. And all of the templates are very flush, so you can run your needle around them without any fear of it catching on any sort of protrusions. So I'm just going all over. You leave yours in the template, but that's about where you're at. It's still nice, it's still quite puffy. Just get this back in. Okay, and we're not turning it over, we're just keeping to this one side. Now I'm going to move up to my multi-tool for quickness. You can stay with your single needle, but if you are going to use a multi-tool, always make sure that you use one that has the needles in a straight line. There are some that have one that's offset. Those aren't terribly good because you're more likely to hit the side of your template. But with these, you can go in a straight line down into the tips. So I'm just going over this, and again, as soon as I feel my needle hit that surface, that's as far as I'm going. And little projects like these are great for learning and developing techniques. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is pop that out. See, it's holding its shape quite well. I'm going to bring in the punch tool. And we're not driving the punch tool right the way down. Again, we're just bouncing off that surface. This is just going to help compact those fibres. I'm going to turn it over and go the other side. See, I've got a bit of a line there where I've got to join. So I'm just going to fluff up those fibres and bring them up into that petal. It's fine on that side, but just by scratching up those fibres you can then create a nice seamless blend. So now it looks nothing like the template. It goes back in. Like so. And I'm pushing sort of the middle so that it all kind of collapses into the template. And then back over with my single needle. And again, I'm keeping it facing the same way down. I'm not turning it over, because generally it's been my observation that the side that faces the mat ends up with a much nicer surface to it. So bear that in mind, especially when you're making petals and things, that the front of the petal, or the, you know, the face of the petal that you see more of, it's the one that's to the surface. There you can see. So I'm getting this really well felted. And this is where you want to practice your techniques of very light needle, light grip. You know, if you're jabbing really hard, that's putting a lot of tension into your arm, your neck, and you want this to be nice and relaxed. So a nice light grip on the needle. Going around my edges again. And I think I'll pop it out, have a look. Yeah, see, that one's coming away a little bit. That's not a problem. I'm going to pop it back in. Just going to grab another bit of white. Just half a pinch. And there's the offending petal. So I'm just going to run a little bit more up over that whole section from the middle. And this wool blends beautifully to itself. And there we go. Okay, and there you have your little star. Like I said, you're going to make 2 of those. Then what you're going to do is make a 3-point. So that one, and that one. Again, 0.1 gram. Roll it into the tip. Let's see, right, so it's that one, that one. And it is fair to say that I'm trying to do this as absolutely quickly as I can, but as many of you know, I don't do slow tutorials. Or I don't do short ones. Okay, and then the last one would be the one that's straight up from the other 2. And you're going to go through exactly the same process that we just went through for the 5. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to speed this bit up so that we can get through it and on to the next part. Okay, and there we go. So what you'll have now are 2 of the 5 points and 1 of the 3. Now you can iron these if you want to. I'm not going to because I like the chunky petals for this particular lily, but you can iron them. You can do more layers if you want. That's entirely up to you. Oh, the other thing that I did on this was I just brought this needle around just to shape those a little bit. Let's see. There we go. Okay, now we're just going to layer. So you take the first one, put the second one on top, and then rotate it so that the petals are in the gaps. Get your single needle and just right in the center. You don't want to go wandering too far, but right in the center. And you can already see that it's starting to pull those petals up. And then you get your third one. And then that goes in the middle again. It's flattening out a little bit more. And again, you just sort of offset-ish. And now we really are using a driving motion. I'm going all the way through each layer and right into the surface. Just remember to lift. You can see the fluff coming out the bottom. Just tweak it a little bit. And there you have your little lily flower. So that's the flower done. We're going to do the lily pad next. To make the lily pad, I've weighed out about 2.5 grams of this is our moss green, and what we're going to do to start with is just get that edge in. So I'm not going to stuff it and try and work it out like that. I'm just going to grab a piece, put it in the template, and see if I can explain this. I'm going to take my needle and put it in the middle of the fibres, and then aim for that edge. So it's kind of folding the fibres back. I don't know if you can see that. And going around. I'm slightly tacking it to my surface, although it is very, very lightly. And again, going in the middle of the fibres. Little overlap with the previous piece that I put down. And I'm going to work right the way around the outside. So needle in the middle of the fibres, and then follow the edge, and these kind of fold back. And then another piece. So in the middle and to the edge. This is a sort of very plain and open template. The ones that are more intricate, as I said before, I think you always start at the tips and work towards the middle, because you can always backfill the middle with a bit extra if you need to. It's insanely difficult to try and push the fibres out to the edges. So now I'm just going around the edge, over the top of what I've just put down. So I'm going to grab a bit more and put it in the middle. I'm just jumping about with my needle just to get it sort of tacked in a few places. Like so. And again, you'll keep yours where it is, but I'm just going to show you where we're at. You can see that there's little to no adhesion to my surface. It's just very, very light. you know, and use projects like this are great for just practice. You know, they're not throwaway projects, but they're very quick projects. So, you know, if it all goes wrong, it's not, you know, a 3-hour 3-hour felt that you've done. So projects like this are absolutely great for just practicing your little techniques, and you get something really nice to show for it at the end of it. So that's all in there. So now I'm just going to move up to my multi-tool. And again, just stopping when I feel the sort of the thud of the mat. And this felted mat, I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. Oh, I must also give a quick little shout out and thank you to Michelle. This project was her idea, so thumbs up, Michelle. Thank you very much. It's a great little project. I think I've made about 4 of these now. So we're just working over it with my multi-needle before coming in with the punch tool. If you feel that, you know, you're not quite as light with the needles, then make sure that you just lift from your surface often. Otherwise you'll end up with project and foam permanently attached. So I'm running around inside the template with the punch tool. And I'm sorry if this is very rattly on the sound. But again, I'm not driving it right in. I'm probably going about yay deep. Nice straight up and down around the edge. And this will spread. When it's out of the template, it will spread. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to angle this ever so lightly, or ever so slightly, just back in, and just all the way around the edge, like that. Pick it back up, pop it back in, and again, going around, see if I can get a better angle. So again, pushing it back in, you see how it's curling over, and that curling over, and then we spread it and we curl it over, that gives you a really nice, good, strong edge. This lily pad, again, you can iron it, and you don't have to felt it quite as much. I'm just feeling over, I've got a thin bit there, so I'm going to put a little bit more in there. And to add to an area, so I've got a thin bit here, so what I'm going to do is put the bulk of it on the thin spot, go over, but allow these edges to frizz out into the rest of the project, and that way you get a blend. If you were to, you know, fold it over and put it down, you'll end up with this ridge. So bulk of it in the center, and then just allow it to frizz out, and it will blend out into the rest of the project. I do try and cram as much information as I can into the tutorials for you. Okay, so this is really starting to firm up quite nicely. I haven't used all of my 2.5 grams. A little bit thin there. But the one thing that we're going to do is make sure that this is really well felted. Because we're going to be cutting into it. And the last thing that we want to do is to cut into it and just have all the fibres just disintegrate. So this is going to be a very firm felt. Okay, I'm going to lift again. And hold it up to the light. See, I've got a little bit of a, not quite sure what that's called, but it's not right. So back into the template. Bring those edges back down. And then what I'm going to do is grab a little bit more of this, lay it over the top, and just go back over that edge and around. Like so. Go in with my multi-needle. And then again, I'm going to go in with the punch tool, but I'm keeping it in the template this time. I don't want too much of a spread. Keep your punch tool nice and upright, and you can use the side of the template to just guide you round. There we go. Alright, I'm going to lift. Yep. Oh, I fixed that one, but I didn't fix that one. So back in. Pinch more. Again, into the middle so it rolls back. And then around the edge. You can obviously fast forward through all of the boring bits, but I do like to go right the way through everything so that you can see exactly how long it's taking me, and you know, the different things that I encounter when I'm making these things. So I think we're almost there, and if we're almost there, I'm going to go over it once more. So we want this really firmly felted. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just take my punch tool, and again, I'm not using very much of the multi-tool, but I'm just really firming up those edges. And you don't want to be driving that way. If you do that, then what happens is you start making a flat or an indent. So an angle, just so that a couple of these needles are catching that edge. Going to go all over it again. Back into the template. Going to use the multi-tool for quickness. And there we have it. So that's the circle done. I'm just going to grab a pair of snippy scissors. You need a good sharp pair of scissors. There we go. It's a nice circle. So snippy scissors at the ready, and just decide where you want to snip into it. I'm going to snip into it here. This side, it's a little bit crisper than this side, so I'm going to snip him virtually to the centre. And because we felted it so well, you can see we snipped into it and it hasn't gone everywhere. So multi-tool just on those edges. If you did this in yellow, you could make a Pac-Man. I see all sorts of things when I'm making. Okay, if you wanted a bigger gap, then just cut a piece out and just re-establish that edge. And there you have it. So when you've got your lily pad, these are a little bit too pointy for my liking, so I'm just going to round them off. And again, there. It's got a nice round lily pad. And there is our little flower. Like so. So there you have it, one lily pad and lily flower. And there's a little crown from the Frog Prince. Okay, that's that all done. There's one more thing that I'm going to show you that you can do with this flower. It's kind of a spin-off sort of project. So we're going to need some florist wires, and I'm going to grab some 24 gauge in green. So I've grabbed a florist wire and an awl, and I've grabbed my florist tape. This is the dark green. You're going to open up your little flower, and we're going to make 2 holes very close together. So I'm going to put one here and one here. So get your awl, let's drive it down. You can see that hole there, and then I'm going to put another one over there, which ultimately will close the first one. But I'm just going to back and forth in the holes a sec. And then grab your wire, fold it in half, and hopefully, if I'm incredibly lucky, this will go in first time. Nope, apparently not. I dropped it on the floor. Got it. So feed one through one hole. No, it doesn't want to go. And then, where's the other one? There it is. The other side through the other hole. Pull it all the way down. Bring the wires at the back. Give it a tight twist at the top. Twist the wires all the way down. And there you have a little flower on a stem. You can do these obviously in any colour you like. A little bit of florist tape. Pull and stretch to activate the tape. And wind the tape all the way down the stem. That's if you're just doing a single one. There we go. The quickest flower ever. And these would perhaps make some lovely filler flowers. You know, perhaps you can get sort of 2 or 3 on a head. I'm making an arrangement at the moment, so I might actually use some of these too. So there, a little bonus, very quick filler flower for any project. Thank you very much for spending your time with me today. Please do subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, that will notify you when I upload more videos, and I wish you all a very crafty day.